Season's greetings, everybody. It's Wes Eisenchank back again with a brand new podcast for you. In fact, here on Lost and Found Muscle Cars, I have the privilege today to be speaking with a gentleman who I've actually gotten to work with in the past, Kevin MacKay. Kevin is the author of the Corvette Hunter, and when we use that title, we don't use it loosely. Kevin MacKay is without a doubt the top Corvette restorer in the country. Kevin himself is one of the best hunters of Corvettes, Corvette parts, anything associated with the Corvette. If we were to put all of Kevin's accolades onto a boat, the boat would sink. Leave it to Lost and Found Muscle Cars to get the chance to introduce you all to the one and only Kevin MacKay. Kevin, welcome to Lost and Found Muscle Cars.
Great seeing you again. Always a pleasure.
It is. It's great to see you, Kevin. I got a chance to work with you on your book, Corvette Hunter, and that was a hell of a fun experience for me. First of all, because I run Lost Muscle Cars and Lost and Found Muscle Cars. I love hunting cool stuff as well. But when it comes to the tip of the spear, Kevin, you kind of own that area when it comes to the Corvette world. And I'd love to chat with you today on some of those great finds you've had.
Great. Let's go for it.
In your book, you kind of talk about how you had gone from sort of finding and restoring cars, doing work for customers, and then it was brought to your attention that, Kevin, what the hell are you doing with these 327 cars when there's bigger fish out there to fry? And it was by one of your mentors in the hobby, correct?
Ed Mueller. He was at the time back in the 80s and 90s. Wes. He was the #1 Corvette collector. He had one of the original Grand Sports. He had not one but two factory 67 L-88s. He had a factory ZL1 Corvette, one of only two ever built, and a half a dozen C3 L-88s. And basically what he told me was, Kevin, I think you're an asshole, but I'd love you like a son. I said, okay. First you insult me, and then you praise me. I'm all confused. Well, the reason why I'm telling you this, I'm going to tell you about car collecting. Okay. A 327 Corvette, and you did a beautiful job on that 65 Corvette Coupe, 327, 300 horse. Same body, same chassis, same interior. The only difference is just the engine option. If you would put your heart and soul and your passion into a 435 or an L88, the car would be worth probably triple the amount of money, maybe quadruple the amount of money.
Yeah.
I thought of that for a while. I said, you know something? He's right. And then the next car I got was called the Bounty Hunter, which was a black, red, side pipe 435 coupe. It's all customized. I bought that car for $19,600. I'll never forget it, March of 1988, and restored it. And at the time, it was the only documented black with red interior with side pipes in existence. And the car made its round. And what we did during the restoration, we made it into a drivable chassis, and that was pretty amazing because we took this rolling chassis. Well, it won't take much to put a clutch in it, clutch, brake pedal, a seat, steering column, the whole bit. And I brought it to a local show, but I trailed it because it wasn't really street legal at the time. I said, let me see if I get any kind of, how can I say it? Let's just see what people reactions would be. You drive this thing on the open road. So I unloaded about a block away from the show. And here I am going back and forth, about maybe doing 30, 40 miles an hour with this drivable chassis. The whole entire show literally went right out in the street to watch this maniac driving down the street. And then I drove into the show, and it was the hit of the whole show. And then I started taking it to other events on a national level. And we started getting a reputation of building these cutaway cars and see-through cars and suspended body exhibits and so on. And that's how it really started. My dad worked for the New York Times for 32 years, never took a sick day in his life for 32 years. Even when he was sick, he went to work. I was raised the same way, old school, elbows off the table, the whole 9 yards. He said, you got to come up with a niche. A lot of people like to talk the talk. You got to walk the walk. Yeah. And that's when we started coming up with all these crazy different displays that now they're in museums now. And it's just great because it's an education. When people see an exposed car like that, a drivable chassis or suspending body exhibit or a cutaway car, it's an educational where people take notes, they videotape it, They asked me a lot of questions, and we all here to learn and help each other out.
Yeah, and one analogy you gave in your book, and this is perfect. It's like there's countless beautiful women walking on the beach, but if one woman walks by and she's beautiful and she doesn't have all of her clothes on, everyone's going to flock to that. And your Corvette basically was just like that. It was an exposed Corvette out in the public, and people just flocked to it.
It's never been done before. We were just pushing the envelope, starting new territory. And it was something that no one else has ever done before. And I figured, why not? And it was fun doing it. And it was a team effort. And looking at people's expression on their faces was just priceless for me. And
Sure.
people remember, and I would always give out, I come with a couple hundred business cards and give them out like crazy. It was just great. So
Yeah.
It's been a very fun ride for all of us.
Yeah. So in this hobby, though, Kevin, you've gotten to work with some of the top names in the history of the Corvette. You've been, Zora's been to your cars and sat in them. You've had Roger Penske in your personal life. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar, tell us a little bit about your interactions with Mr. Penske and a certain Sunoco Corvette.
Oh, this story no one knows about because it was never published in the book. This came after the fact. Great story. One of my true heroes is Roger Penske. He's the original owner of the car that's on the cover of the Corvette Hunter book, the Velvet 66 Roger Penske Corvette. Always wanted to meet him. And believe it or not, a little history lesson here is that racing is a sport. Right, Wes?
It absolutely is. Yeah.
Okay. So think about this. The winningest sports team in history, everyone will say it's the New York Yankees. They were number 2. Number 1 was Roger Penske. He has won more world championships and races than, like I said, it's considered a sport. Number 1 guy. Beat the New York Yankees out, which is pretty impressive. So I came up with a plan. He was getting a special award upstate New York. I think it was Cooperstown, near the Glen area. And a good friend of mine named Erwin Croy, another big Corvette collector, has a Penske Camaro. I have the Penske Corvette. I said, Erwin, I'm going to try to get a hold of the Penske Corporation. I'd like to bring these cars up there because you always remember your roots. No matter how much fame and fortune you may have, you always remember where you come from. So Erwin goes, that's a great idea. Let's do it. I said, okay. So we're trying to get a hold of the Penske Corporation. And they said, Mr. Penske has no interest in that. He's into the new stuff, not the old school stuff. So we were kind of disappointed. I'm not giving up that easy. I said, you know what I'm going to do? I have a lot of photographs of Roger back when he was 28 years old, back in 1966 at Daytona and at Sebring. Oh, you have any photographs of Roger? Oh, yeah, I got some photographs of my 68 Penske Camaro. He goes, let's put a scrapbook together and we'll bring the scrapbook up. And then hopefully we can grab him, take him to a corner and talk to him.
Yeah.
I'm coming now. I said, okay, let's do it. So we go up there, have a little cocktail hour outside, beautiful weather. It's during the summertime. And I said, if you see Roger, Erwin, let me know, because I'll look this direction, you look that direction. Okay. Next thing you know it, Mr. Penske walks in. Erwin goes, he's about 20 feet away from you. I turn around, I beeline right to the guy. Right? And I have my little satchel, my little notebook, and I have my glove box door, because I wanted him to autograph my glove box door for the car. I took it off the car. So I'm second in line. And I said, Mr. Penske, I said, by the way, my name is Kevin MacKay. He's my dear friend, Mr. Erwin Croy. I want to show you something, Mr. Penske. And I take out the notebook, and there's a picture of Roger with his car. I said, I own your firstborn. He goes, you own my firstborn, Mr. MacKay? I said, yes, sir. Would you like to look at the book? He said, I would love to look at the book. We walk over to a little cocktail table. We had a little glass of champagne. And we're going through the book. And he's just blown away, because a lot of these photographs have never been published. So this car is pretty neat, because during the race, the car crashed. And to continue the race, the car had to have front-forward lights. But since the front end was knocked off on the car, Wes, the car's going to be disqualified, because now it's getting to nighttime racing, because it's a 24-hour race. So as it getting dark, the officials come over. He goes, by the way, guys, I'm sorry, but you can't go race like this because it's too dangerous. So you don't have any front forward lights. So they came up with a brainstorm here. Wait a minute, where's those flashlights?
What?
The back of the truck. They took
What?
two big flashlights and they duct taped them to the top of the existing fender of the car, and they go around the track. And here they're doing 140, 160 miles an hour. And Goldstream, who's one of the drivers, comes in. He goes, "Mr. Penske, I can't see in front of me." He goes, what are you kidding me? We're leading our class in the race. Get your ass out there. Go follow somebody's taillights. So
No.
he gets a glance. He sees this red car beeline right past him. He goes right behind him. He's trying to gain on him because he sees 4 red circles. And as he's gaining on him, the circles are getting bigger and bigger and bigger because he feels if I don't follow this guy's taillights, I'm going to crash the car.
Yeah.
So he followed the taillights, not knowing it was a Ferrari prototype. He went to class, breaks the track record. And so I said, "Mr. Penske, this flashlight story, is that really true?" He says, "Mr. MacKay, no one believes me. I told Rick Mears, I told some of my other close friends. They think I'm lying through my teeth. But I'm telling you, it really happened." I said, "You don't have any photographs of the flight?" He goes, "Mr. MacKay, I was in the pits. We're here to win races, not to take pictures." I said, "I'm so sorry, Mr. MacKay. I just had to ask that question." Well, the next page, I had a picture of the flashlights on top of the car.
Awesome.
He looked at me. He says, "Oh, you got to be kidding me, Mr. MacKay. I can't believe this picture you have. Hold on. Hey, Rick Mears, come here, candy ass. Come over here. Remember that flashlight story?" And Rick Mears goes,
Hello, Casper Nevis. Get over here.
"Yeah, come over here. You think I'm a liar? Hey, this is my new friend, Mr. Kevin MacKay.
Yeah, mine.
By the way, this is Mr. Rick Mears. Show him that picture." And I said, "Rick, look at the picture." He goes, I thought he was full of himself. I can't believe it. It's true." He goes, "Mr. MacKay, you made my day. Thank you very much." So after that, Erwin had his scrapbook out. I went through his scrapbook, and it was just reminiscing. You always remember your roots. But at the end, we said, "Mr. Penske, thank you so much for spending all this time. We really enjoyed ourselves." He says, "By the way, here's your books back, guys." "No, Mr. Penske, we want you to have these books because we want to show your family and your grandson, your grandkids. So it's part of your history." He didn't know what to say.
Wow.
He whips out his business card, puts his cell number down there. "I want to tell you made my weekend. I just can't believe what I just saw. Thank you so much." He took the books, gave it to his handler. They put them somewhere. 8 hours later, I get an email from Roger. He says, "By the way, I had a great time with you and Erwin. Let's keep in touch. Sign RP."
Printed and framed and hung on your wall somewhere, right?
Sure is.
So Kevin, I want to go back and set up this car a little bit. Okay, so let's go back and get your first experience as to learning about these cars that would end up becoming this would be the prototype for that program. So can we go back and set up the Penske Corvette?
It was built in '65, but it came out in January of '66. Remember, the 427 program started back in 1962. Even though for regular production for Corvette it was 1966 of 427. So they were testing and developing these special motors. Mickey Thompson had 2 mystery motor Corvettes back in 1963. One has been found. The other one, I'm looking for it. Haven't found it yet. A couple of leads, but you got to be persistent. So maybe one day, maybe the car is still out there. If it's not, it's not. But at least we made an attempt to try to find the car. So when I first found the Penske Corvette, it found me. It was 1983. I was at the Malcolm Connor Chevrolet show. Zora Duntov was there, and Larry Shinoda was there, another big designer. And this custom 66 Nassau Blue with flares on it pulls into the parking lot. And it's got headers on it, had this special hood on it. And I'm with Ed Mueller, who's one of my mentors. And I walked over to the car and I looked inside. It's got the large fuel tank. They only made 66 large tanks in 1966 Corvette. I'm looking at it. It's no radio, no heater. It's just no frill option. It's got these covered bubble lights in the front. It's got a light in the door. It had Camaro IREC wheels on it. And I go up to the guy. I said, what do you got here? He goes, "Oh, this is Roger Penske's L-88 Corvette that raced at Daytona and Sebring. I said, they're making 66 L-88. Well, this is a development car, sir. You don't know much about it. And Mueller is kicking me on the side of my shoe. He goes, shut up.
Yeah.
Let him talk. Because Ed was really into the history. And I was just a young guy in my early 20s at the time. And I said, so I let him talk. I took a lot of pictures of the car at that time. I was smart. I had my camera with me. And Ed goes, that's a pretty special car. I read about that car in some of the history books. Really? So I had the VIN number. And I just followed that car. And then, God, I was 83, and I bought the car in 2001. I bought the car. That's how long it took me to get that car. And that's another story how we can follow up on that. But I collected a lot of photographs, a lot of information on that car. I said, one day, if I had that kind of money to spend, that's a car I would want in my stable. And eventually I ended up with it.
Unbelievable. That's of all the Corvettes in the history of Corvette racing, that might be more right there at the top for iconic, just the iconicness of its design, who owned it, its success. Like you said, this car ended up running at Sebring with basically no front end, and flashlights as fender mounted flashlights that they had to put on the car to keep it in the race. And by God,
that was at Daytona. They raced at Daytona with the flashlights on it when it was red as car number 6. And then after the car crashed, they had 1 month to get it ready for Sebring.
There we go.
And what happened was since Sunoco was a major sponsor, they said, hey, we'll continue sponsoring the car, but you have to paint it our corporate colors, which is the Sunoco blue with the yellow. Yeah. And that's what happened. Put a new front end on the car, and then the rest is history. And it broke the record there, and it was the highest finish at the time at Sebring. But yeah, it's just I did my homework on it. I followed that car, and nobody cared about race cars back then, Wes. Everybody wanted a matching number car. I didn't care because most of these cars that raced at Le Mans, Sebring, Daytona were special heavy-duty cars with heavy-duty transmissions, heavy-duty engines, heavy-duty rear ends.
Cooling.
Exactly. So this is heavy-duty brakes. And a lot of these cars were L-88 Corvettes back in the day because they were cheap just to buy an L-88. They try to build one.
Yeah. So you end up, and this is probably one of my favorite stories. You end up restoring and owning 3 very, very special cars, and you end up getting an offer for these cars, and your father's involved in this story. Please tell our audience here on Lost and Found Muscle Cars about the acquisition of a certain Sunoco car, and then also the sale of a certain few cars.
Well, my dad was in the corporate world. Like I said, he worked for the New York Times. And when I told him that I wanted to become a mechanic because I like working with my hands, he says, do you want to be a grease monkey now? I says, Pop, I like cars. I can't help it. I like cars. Anything with wheels on it. I worked at a bike shop. I worked at a go-kart mini bike shop. I like things that have wheels on it. That's that simple. So he made me up a resume, and he worked in the city. And he went to IBM to get an application. And he comes home with the application. He says, hey, fill this out. I said, what am I going to do? Mop the floors there? Clean the bathrooms at IBM? I'm not a white collar worker. I'm a blue collar worker. I can't be behind a desk. It's not me. Pop, you got to have benefits. You got to get, paid holidays. You work for a big corporation. This is what you got to do like I did. It wasn't for me. And I said, I'd like to work on cars. So I went to a trade school, a place called Delahanty Automotive. I was number 2 in my class. I just ate it up. And they got me a job working at a dealership, which was a place called Hayes Oldsmobile. Eventually, I went to 5 other Chevrolet dealerships, and I started learning the trade. And I got really involved with the Chevrolet product, and of course, the Corvette, like we said before. And that's how it started. So the 3 cars that I had were factory L-88 Corvettes.
Tell our a little bit what an L-88 is.
An L-88 Corvette, they made them production wise, even though they started making test development cars back early on, like 65 and 66. Production 67 L-8 cars came out. There were only 20 ever built. No heater, no radio,
Wow.
heavy duty transmission, heavy duty brakes. That was standard for L-88. They weren't really advertised because they were really all out race cars, and only 20 were ever produced. It was like $1,000 option. Back then,
Mm.
those cars only go for maybe $4,300. So you had to pay $1,000 more to get the L8 option when you get those heavy duty components. So there's only 16 accounted for today. Those cars have brought as much as $3.8 million for one Chevrolet Corvette. They range between, let's say, one that needs work, maybe in the two to close to $4 million. Matter of fact, one is going for sale at Mecum Auction at Kissimmee, and they buy that car, I think, between like $3.4 to $3.8 million for that car. So that's unbelievable. And that's why these cars are so collectible because it's just so rare. And in 68, they made 80 production L88 cars. Still a very, very low number. And then in 69, which was the last year for the L88 car, they only made 116. They made 99 4-speeds and 17 automatics. That's it. I keep a survey on the L88s. I believe I have 16 under my belt now that are documented, bona fide 67 L88s. Out of the 80, 68 L88 cars, I probably have almost 70, 68, 69 out of the 80. A lot of them were stolen or wrecked and gone, went to the junker. And in 69, I have all 17 automatics. And I have maybe out of the 99 4-speeds, I maybe have 83, 84 of them. So I've been hunting for quite a while. That's half the fun is the hunt, Wes. Yes. I just love the hunt. I love the chase.
So these L88 cars, they've really risen to the top of the hobby for the Corvette, correct?
Oh yeah, it's one of the most desirable, collectible, rare cars you can ever have is an L88. I mean, they're hitting, like you said, 67s are hitting in the millions. A C3 L88 car, those cars that have hit 1.1. We had one that sold for 1.1 million. They're between, let's say, on the low side, 300,000 for a basket case, and they can go up to $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, no problem. It depends on the options, the colors, the documents, the history of the cars. But when they went to a special race like a Sebring or a Daytona race, that'll bring the value up more. We get into that thing. I did have 3 special cars. 2 were Sebring class winners. One was a 4-time national champion. The 68 Sunray DX number 3 car I owned was a factory L88 car. Won its class at Sebring in 1968. Car was painted red, white, and blue on the cover of Corvette News publication, which was a Chevrolet publication at the time. Then I had a 69 called the Rebel Corvette, painted like the Confederate flag. That is the only C3 that took first in class at Daytona in 1972 and Sebring in 1972 is car number 57. That was a very special car. They only made 4 of those cars, believe it or not. It was, I mean, they made the LE patches were 116 total, but these were called the lightweight cars because the cars didn't come with carpets. They came with headers. They came with the bubble lights, so they called it a lightweight car. And then the last car, the V.B. Cook car, which originally was owned by a guy named Doug Bergen, which was the only black saddle factory L88 convertible that took second at Sebring.
Oh my!
And it was converted over to a small block, and it was 4-time national champion. 29 races undefeated, never lost a race. So
you bundle these 3 cars up together, and let's hear how that transpired.
I love these cars because I love the history. Okay, and I got a call one day from a broker out of Seattle. He said, "Mr. MacKay, yes, I'm speaking to him." He goes, "I heard you have 3 very, very special cars." I said, "I do." He goes, "Well, I have a client. I can't tell you his name, but he's very interested in your 3 cars." I said, "Well, they're not for sale. I love the cars. You know, they were. If it wasn't for us, they would have been gone forever." So he says, "Mr. MacKay, just name your price, and he might consider it." I said, look, it's going to take over $1 million. Now, this is back in 2000 now. $1 million, 23, 24 years ago was a lot of money today, obviously. And I said, if you take over $1 million, he goes, well, how much over $1 million? I said, I'm not going to get greedy. How about 350,000 a piece? He says, okay, I'll tell my client that. Can you send me a binder on the history of the cars? So I put together a 3-ring binder of 101 pages. FedEx to him. 2-3 weeks go by. I don't hear from him. Now I'm getting a little bit upset. I said, you know something? This could be a scam, a setup. I don't know. I called the broker up and said, hey, I haven't heard from anybody. I got better. I don't want to sell the cars. Just send me back my book. Mr. MacKay, he's away on business. Give me another week, and I'll make it happen. Sure enough, a couple of days later, I got a call. I got a guy flying out here. Not the guy that wanted to buy the car. One of his handlers, who's into cars, but more into Cobras and Mustangs and stuff like that. But he was a restorer, and I never met the guy before. I've heard the name. So he flew out and looked at the cars, and I had the car set up perfectly in my garage, and I had a big table of all the documentation and all that stuff. He looked at everything. He goes, we'll take them. So my dad at the time retired from the New York Times, started working for me. I go, Pop, come on. I want you to take a ride with me. Where are we going? It's a surprise. Just let's come to the bank. Go to the bank. Yeah, just come to the bank. So I walk in. I said, hi, I'd like to, I'm getting a wire transfer. I need a routing number. I need the account number, the whole bit. So he said, well, come over here, Mr. MacKay. And I've been at this bank since 1973 when I had a paper route, okay, making $8 a week. Okay. Got to start somewhere. So my father walks away. He goes, what are you doing? He goes, Pop, just listen, don't talk. He's just looking around. He said, I need the routing counting number, the routing number and the account number. And I talked to the young girl and I said, well, what's the amount? I said, $1 million. My father goes, $1 million? I said, yeah. How did you get $1 million? I said, I just sold the 3 cars. What? Yeah, the guy gave me a deposit and he owes me $1 million. Oh, come on now. And the girls get all nervous. Hold on, please. Let me get the manager over here. The manager comes over. Now the manager's really nice to me. I goes, hi, Mr. MacKay. I said, hi. I said, I don't know, you guys don't want my business? I said, I'm going to get a $1 million wire into my account. And nobody, here I am. Look at me now, right? I'm just a working guy. So he goes, well, all right, Mr. MacKay, here's all the stuff. We'll get back to you later on today. You should have with him today because I got there early in the morning. My father goes, I don't believe this. I thought you were a grease monkey. Okay, fine. So I leave, and the bank closed at 3 o'clock at the time. And I was catching a flight to Chicago because I was going to another show. And I said, boy, I got to get this money in the account because I won't be able to sleep. I'm running around like a nut. So about 2:45, I never heard anything. I went right to the bank on the way to the airport. And my dad's driving me to the airport anyway, so we stopped by the bank. I walk in, the manager runs over to me, goes, Mr. MacKay, congratulations, you're a millionaire.
That young man who was working on Corvettes back in the greenhouse behind the house just sold 3 cars and hit the 7-digit magical number.
To this day, I'm still pitching myself with that. And I really didn't want to sell them. That's how much I love those cars. But what happened was I talked to at the time, he was my best friend, a guy named Chip Miller, who was the founder of Carlisle Events. He had a partner. He's one of the co-founders. And I said, Chip, I know what to do. He goes, Kevin, there's got to be another car you'd rather have than those 3 cars. And those cars were the best of the best C3s. Is there one car you really want? I said, yeah, that Penske Corvette. He goes, now you can buy whatever you want. Go after it. That's exactly what I did. I went after it and got it. The rest is history. That's how I couldn't afford that car at the time. The guy knew what he had. But I made an offer and he took it and I got it. So I look at it as people invest their money into stocks,
Yeah.
Real estate. I invest my money into classic cars with good history or great history. That's how I think. So I'm not taking it and blowing it. I'm just reinvesting it. And reinvesting into a classic car that's so collectible is fun because I can enjoy it. I can take it to a show and I can tell the story and let people, look at it and ask me questions. And, photographers come over and they want to take pictures of the car. And I mean, I'm just, every time I show those cars, I just glow. I'm fortunate, but I work my tail off.
So Kevin, you've found and you've restored some of the pinnacle Corvettes in this hobby, but take us through one of your hunts that ends up in a dead end. Tell me about maybe one of your greatest disappointments as the Corvette hunter.
Okay. Nobody really got into collecting drag cars, at least Corvettes. And I'm not a big drag guy, but there was a car called the Old Reliable, a 66 Corvette. It had double gills on the front fender. The thing was so ugly, it was cool. Big white thing.
Dave Strickler was the pilot.
There you go. Wes, you do your homework. And so I'm going after this car. So what you do here, when you read some of these articles, you read about the ownership, the mechanics, the pit crew, whatever it might be. So I hunt these guys down. And back in the 80s and 90s, a lot of these guys were still around at the time. Now, 23, 24, unless they're 105 now, 110, who knows. So I called one of the mechanics and, tell me about this car. I said, what do you want to do with this, Kevin? I said, I'd like to find the car because the history is just amazing. He said, you'll never find that car. I said, what do you mean I'll never find the car? I mean, I'm pretty good at this, and I have a lot of help through law enforcement people and the Department of Motor Vehicle. I made some good connections. He says, you're never going to find that car. What do you mean? He said, that car was so ugly, we could never sell it. So you know what we did? We had a barbecue, and that was the barbecue. We burnt the car to the ground. I said, you got to be kidding me. He goes, yep. We all got drunk. We all got silly, and we burnt the car to the ground, so you'll never find it. Trust me. So it was one of the biggest disappointments.
Oh, it cuts like a knife. It's true, though. I mean, whether cars have been wrecked in racing or whether they've just sort of fallen off the face of the earth and maybe became so unimportant that they found their way to a salvage yard. A lot of these cars, I wouldn't say a lot, but there are significant cars out there that just are no more. And as try as we may, those cars just can't be found. And boy, Kevin, you've really told some great stories for us today here on Lost and Found Muscle Cars, man.
Tell you one more? I'll tell you one more.
Let's roll one more. Let's get one more story in the can.
It's a great thing because we talk about junkyards, okay? The Rebel Corvette was found in a junkyard. And
it had made it to the end of its life. That's about the last place it could be.
Exactly right. And on the cover of Corvette News publication, there's a little round decal that says 1972 Le Mans Corvette race team. Okay? Now remember that in the back of your head. It's on the back window. Don't forget it. It's on the cover of Corvette News publication. And I bought a magazine called Corvette Corner for $1 at a local show, I guess in New Jersey, Corvette show I went to. And I was reading this article, and here's a guy named Orlando Costanza that ordered a factory L-88 yellow Roadster at a Revered Chevrolet down in Tampa, Florida. And so what an interesting car. It's an L-88 car. So back then I called up information, 411, Orlando Costanza, please, Tampa, Florida. Okay, go. In 5 minutes, I had the original on the phone. He says, I said, just read this article, Mr. Costanza, an amazing article. God, just call me you are, regular guy on the phone. And he says to me, hold on 1 second. And he gives me the VIN number over the phone. He's got the original documentation on the car. I said, who'd you sell it to? He goes, I sold it to a friend of mine named Toy and Data English. Right in the area. They used to work for Revered Chevrolet. So I contacted them. Now I'm doing my forward search trying to find the history of the car. They said they sold the car to a guy upstate New York. So I hired a private eye guy to help me find this guy. We found him. The guy's name was Alex Davison. I get all Alex. I said, Alex, I'm trying to find this car. Well, how'd you get my name and number? I said, well, a guy named Toy did English, father and son. He goes, oh, yeah, I bought that car from them. I go, do you remember who you sold to? He goes, I sold some doctor, either North Carolina or South Carolina. I don't really recall. I said, okay, I'll give you a call in a couple of weeks. Maybe I could jog your memory a little bit. He goes, yeah, I'll think about it, Kevin. So I called him a couple weeks later. He goes, Kevin, I don't remember the guy. I don't know. Now he's getting a little agitated. Now I'm being a pest. I wait a month. I call him again. I said, Alex, listen to me, Kevin. Look, all I can tell you is this. The guy's name is Dr. Charles Blank. Okay? I don't know his last name. And don't call me no more. I gave all the information you could possibly have. I just can't do it anymore. I said, okay. So I got Dr. Charles Blank. I get a hold of the SCCA membership department, a guy named Harry Hanley. The guy was a prince and a half. I call him up. I look, I'm looking for a Dr. Charles Blank, either North Carolina or South Carolina, 69 Corvette. Let me see what I can do. Because you have a driver's file. About a week goes by. He goes, Kevin, I got one hit. Now, I think it's Greenwood. Is it South Carolina? Is it Greenwood, I think, somewhere? Or maybe it's North. I'm not sure what Carolina. Yeah, I'm going back over 30 years ago. So I said to myself, what I got to lose? So I called 411 information. I get the number. Guy's still practicing. He's a dentist. So the woman picks up, would you like to make an appointment? I said, no. Please tell Doc, I want to talk about racing Corvettes.
Yes.
Hold on, please. He gets on the phone and goes, who is this? I said, I'm a big fan of yours. I said, no, you used to race Corvettes. He goes, yes. I said, how'd you get my name and number? A guy named Alex Davison? Yes, I bought the car from Alex. I said, you still got the car? He goes, well, kinda. What do you mean? He goes, well, I junked it. It's in the junkyard. I said, in the junkyard? I said, you got to be kidding me. I said, but I own the junkyard. The car's still there somewhere. I just put it away in the junkyard. It's just sitting there. No motor in it, no tranny in it. But it's just a shell.
Your armpits starting to get sweaty about that point?
And I said, I'm going to an event next week. Would you mind if I come and visit you? He goes, well, I got a wedding that day. I said, could I come after the wedding? He said, well, I get out at 11 o'clock. I said, would you mind if I come to the junkyard at 11 o'clock at night? Kevin, the guy was a nice guy. So he says, Kevin, I'm at this hotel. Meet me there at 11:15, and the junkyards are maybe about 5 miles away, and I'll take you there. If you make an effort to come down here from New York, I'll make an effort to show you the car. I said, deal. Car's not for sale. Okay. So I got my flashlights, and I brought all this stuff just to look at the car, carry it, floor jack, the whole 9 yards. And I met him there. We went to the junkyard. He comes out. He's wearing a suit. His wife goes, honey, get back in there. He puts on his overalls, opens up the big gate. We go in there, and there's this big blue boat tarp over this particular car. It looks like the shape of a Corvette. He goes, there it is. It's still here. I grab the boat tarp. As I'm folding it, it shatters in my hand. It's so brittle. It's been out there all these years. So I'm folding it, shattering. I'm folding it, shattering. And I look at the back window of the car. It's got the round 1972 Le Mans Corvette race team decal still on the back window. I checked the VIN number. VIN number's there because I had the document from Orlando Costanza. On the door, it had Alex Davis' name still on the door. And underneath the racing paint, I could see the original yellow paint, which the car was a factory yellow car. And I look at the car. I said, I'd like to have this car. It's not for sale, Kevin. I said, Doc, what are you going to do with the car? He says, I may race it one day. I go, look, I want to bring this car back to its original delivery. I said, what would it take to buy the car? He goes, I'll tell you what to do here. If you buy me back my old race Porsche, because that car is running and driving, I'll give you the car. I said, deal. So I bought the car for $7,000. This is September of 1991. So that's over 30-something years ago. So I buy the car, I bring it back. I get a hold of some of the team members, a guy named Walt Thurn, who was like an historian, and he's got a memory like I've never seen anyone. He can remember everything. And I said, Mr. Thurn, I said, I got your number doing my research, because I actually wrote the article in the Corvette Corner magazine when I bought that magazine for $1. I believe I found the Rebel Corvette. That car's gone forever, Kevin. Everybody wants that car. You're never going to find it. I said, I think I found it in a junkyard. I said, can I send you some pictures of it? Sure. back then there was no digital cameras. I took a roll of 36 print. I sent it a roll, overnighted to him the next day. He calls me up, and I hear a guy heavy breathing. He goes, "Is this Kevin?" I said, "Speaking." He goes, "Hi, this is Walt Thurn." He goes, "Son of a gun, you got the goddamn car. It's still got the original pages, the original race seat in it. The control panel came out of Dave Hines' boat, who was one of the original drivers for the car." He goes, "I can't believe you found the car, and the decal is still in the back window that I made myself. I can't believe. Congratulations, you got the car. It's the car. I can't believe." They were blown away. So it's just a crazy story, right? But it's true.
That is doing your homework, putting in the work, and getting the results, Kevin. I mean, that really is that story in a nutshell. I mean, the path you took, and there's always got to be a break, right? You always have to have someone who cuts you a deal or a break, and you getting that serial number for Mr. Ortiz, that was the beginning of where you had a chip chair and a chance at finding that car.
Well, the great thing is that we restored the car, and I put together one of the original drivers, Bob Johnson, to back with the car back in the 90s. And Walt Thurn came down, interviewed Bob Johnson, and seeing the car back in its Confederate flag, it was unbelievable. It brought a lot of memories, and I was invited to go to Bob Johnson's house because he drove that car at Sebring, him and this guy named Dave Hines, car number 57, right? So I go to Bob Johnson's house. He's got all these newspaper articles and magazines and all this stuff. He has his original race suit, his original racing gloves, his helmet. He goes, "Hey, you're my guest. So I'm going to make you breakfast this morning." I said, "What do you mean you're going to make me breakfast, Bob?" He says, "I'm going to make you breakfast. Sit down." I sit down. The guy's like in his 80s, right? He opens up the cabinet, takes out a cereal bowl, throws it at me. I catch it. I put it down. So I guess I'm having cereal. Opens up another cabinet, takes out a box of cornflakes, puts the cornflakes down on the table. Goes in the refrigerator, takes out this white pitcher, brings it over. So you figure it's a pitcher of milk, right? He goes, "All right, pour the cornflakes in." I pour the cornflakes in. He said, "I've had cornflakes since I was a kid." He starts pouring the pitcher, and what's coming out is apple juice on my cornflakes. Now, I don't know about you, Wes, but I like milk on my cornflakes, okay? He's pouring it. I said, "Bob, I think you got the wrong pitcher." He goes, No. Listen to me. My son is a health nut. Milk is very bad for you, especially at our age. You'll like the apple juice. It's delicious. I take one spoonful. I spit all over his table. I said, "Come on, we're going out for brunch." And that was it.
That's that. Let's go, Bob.
We're out of here. I said, "It tastes like crap. I'm not eating it." That's the end of that. We're going out for brunch. Let's go out. Let's get some bacon and eggs.
Oh man, that's the story to end this conversation, Kevin. It's been just a pleasure to catch back up with you first. It's been a while since we got to chat, and I tell you what, Kevin, I'd love to have you on down the road as well. You're just a plethora of stories, and you're always finding new stuff, and you're always hunting. And I know there's Kevin, we all got cards close to the chest, and I know you got some close to your chest, and there's always a few out there you're looking for. So I know down the road we'll catch back up, and just would love to have you back on. Folks, Kevin MacKay, the Corvette Restore, the Corvette Hunter, and man, wasn't that fun? So we'll catch you down the road, Kevin, and thanks again for coming on Lost and Found Muscle Cars.
Wes, it's a pleasure. I can't take these stories with me. I want to share them with the public. It's just been a fun ride. If I could do it, anyone could do it. Believe me. It's just all about, just putting your head to the grinder, and it's the love and the passion that we all have with cars. So it's good.
Thank you, Kevin. We'll talk to you soon.
Pleasure. Thanks, guys. Be well.